future was cheating on you? Now, picture this. What if you then discovered your own mother knew about it for weeks, helped her hide it, and then tried to convince you to stay with her and raise a baby that wasn't yours? My world didn't just crumble, it absolutely imploded. It all started about a month ago. I thought I was going to surprise Helen, my wife, with a fun night out, dinner, a movie, just something to bring a little joy back into our lives. I drove to her office building and immediately I saw her car. Odd, because it was late and she shouldn't have still been there. So, I figured I'd call her, tell her my surprise plans. As the phone rang in my hand, I heard her ringtone. It was coming from inside her car. Confused, I moved closer, peering through the window. And that's when I saw it. Helen, my wife, the woman I swore to spend forever with, was in the car. But she wasn't alone. She was locked in a passionate embrace, making out with a man. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My heart felt like it stopped. Then, her eyes flicked open and met mine. Pure, unadulterated panic flashed across her face. She pulled away, her mouth opening and closing, struggling for words. Guilt was etched all over her. The man, oblivious until then, turned around. His face drained of color. His eyes widened in horror. He knew me. It wasn't some random stranger. This was someone I'd met at her office Christmas parties, shared drinks with, even connected with on social media. I knew his wife was pregnant, expecting their child at home, while he was here, betraying her just like Helen was betraying me. The sickening realization washed over me like a tidal wave. My romantic surprise had crashed into a gut-wrenching reality I never saw coming. Helen, completely shaken, tried to explain. She stumbled over her words, insisting it was nothing, just a one-time, stupid mistake. Her voice was strained, as if she was trying to convince herself more than me. But how could I believe that? I had just seen her, my wife, passionately kissing another man. The other guy, panicked, chased after me, begging for my forgiveness, pleading with me not to tell his pregnant wife. The sheer audacity. He'd just been caught, betraying two people, and his only concern was saving his own skin. A firestorm erupted inside me. Fury so intense I could barely see straight. I knew if I stayed, I'd lose control. So, without a single word, I turned and walked to my car. I didn't look back. I just drove. Fast. Away from them. Away from that nightmare. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles were white. The pain was overwhelming. I couldn't stop replaying it, a twisted loop in my mind. I drove for hours, no destination, just needing to move, to escape. Eventually, I ended up in some secluded spot, far from the city. I parked, and just let everything hit me. The pain, the betrayal, it all crashed down and I broke. I cried harder than I had in years. How could this happen? Helen and I were best friends, shared everything. Now it was shattered. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I never would have believed it. When I finally went home, my mind was made up. There was no going back. Helen was there, tears streaming, panic in her eyes. She rushed me, pleading, "We can work through this. It's not too late." But how could words ever fix this? Anger and overwhelming sadness consumed me. Her pleas just fueled my frustration. Nothing she said could undo what I had seen. I screamed that I could never live with a cheater. My trust was shattered beyond repair. The thought of touching her, being intimate with her again, felt impossible. That image of her with him was burned into my mind. I told her, firmly, we were getting a divorce. She broke down, sobbing, begging for a second chance, promising she loved me, couldn't live without me. But her words were hollow, too little, too late. I couldn't listen. The hurt was too raw. I grabbed my bag and walked out. I checked into a cheap motel, trying to figure out my next move. For days, I'd wake up, go to work, come back, stare at the TV, and cry myself to sleep. I told no one. Ashamed. Embarrassed. How could I explain this to my parents, my friends? I was still processing the shock myself. My phone buzzed constantly with calls from Helen, but I couldn't bear it. Each time her name flashed, it was a punch to the gut. I ignored her. She even showed up at my office twice, but I refused to see her. Then about a week later, my dad called. I could hear the concern in his voice. "How are you? Where have you been?" Helen told us everything. My heart sank, but also a strange relief. The secret wasn't entirely mine anymore. Dad urged me to come home, stay with them. I was running on fumes, completely drained. I took his advice. When I pulled into their driveway, my parents were waiting. They pulled me into a tight hug. They didn't need words. My face, my disheveled state, said it all. They told me to rest. That quiet support was exactly what I needed. For the first time in days, I could breathe. Later that evening, we sat down to talk. I asked them what Helen had told them. My dad cleared his throat. Helen admitted to a stupid kiss, then spun it, saying I'd walked out impulsively, without giving her a chance. I shook my head in disbelief.
How could she downplay it like that?
I took a deep breath and recounted the whole story, from seeing her in the car to my world crumbling. My voice cracked. My hands shook. Dad was visibly shaken. He squeezed my shoulder, reassuring me. If I didn't want to stay with Helen, I absolutely shouldn't. He had my back. It felt good to hear. But Mom, she was quiet, her brow furrowed. Then she asked, "Have you really thought this through?" Her words stung. How could she ask me that, after everything I just poured out? I looked at her, frustration clear. Of course I have. My wedding vows mean everything, but this betrayal is too deep. How can I stay with a cheater? But Mom pressed on, gently, firmly. Maybe you could give Helen a chance to explain. She seemed so remorseful. She suggested we could work things out. My stomach twisted. The idea that my own mother was asking me to consider staying with the woman who betrayed me felt like a second betrayal. I was dumbfounded. How could she, of all people, support this? My dad must have sensed my anger. Before I could speak, he snapped at Mom. You have no right to defend a characterless woman like Helen over your own son. But Mom didn't back down. She argued that marriage takes compromise, that no one is perfect. She kept pushing. But the more she talked, the sicker I felt. The truth was, Mom had always loved Helen like a daughter. They'd been close since high school. Helen was family. For Mom, this wasn't just about me and Helen. It was about losing someone she cherished, someone she considered part of our family. Our families were intertwined, holidays, dinners, vacations. I understood her struggle, but it didn't change what Helen did. I appreciated her concern, but I wouldn't follow her advice. Over the next few days, I did what I had to do. I spoke with a lawyer. I planned to serve Helen the divorce papers at our place, but she insisted on coming to my parents' house. I agreed just to get it over with. Mom's unease was palpable, but I asked her not to interfere. When Helen arrived, she started with how much she missed me. Empty words. Mocking, almost. I told her to sit. My parents knew what was coming. Mom, though, greeted Helen with kindness, even a hug. My blood boiled. How could she be nice to someone who hurt me so deeply? Before I could say anything, Helen pulled something out of her bag. A pregnancy test. She placed it on the table. I'm pregnant, she announced. I stared, wide-eyed. I picked it up. Positive. I looked at her, searching for a sign it was a cruel joke.
No.
She just smiled. I'm pregnant with our baby. I scoffed. This isn't my baby. It's probably that other guy's. Helen looked shocked, offended. The affair was a mistake. We only slept together once or twice. I was careful, she insisted. Hearing her admit it, hearing once or twice, made me sick. I knew, deep down, but she'd never confirmed details. Now the truth was trickling out. People get pregnant even with protection, Helen. I cut her off, my voice sharp. There's a 50-50 chance this baby is mine. She was trying to frame this as some kind of salvation for our marriage. I handed her the divorce papers. Her face crumpled. She started to cry. For a moment, I wondered if it was guilt or fear of losing control. Mom rushed to her side, consoling her, whispering as if Helen was the victim. Then, she looked at me. You shouldn't burden a pregnant woman with divorce papers. This baby could solve everything. Forgive her. Go home. It felt like a slap in the face. Before I could respond, my dad stepped in, his anger boiling. He shouted at Mom, furious that she was supporting Helen. Without a paternity test, we have no proof. You shouldn't force him to take on this burden after her infidelity. Dad was right. Then, he turned to Helen, his voice firm, full of disappointment. After everything he's done for you, after years of marriage, cheating on him was the worst thing you could do. Helen's sobs grew louder. Shame washed over her face. But it didn't change anything. What was done was done. In the weeks after that, Mom started acting strangely. Going out more, vague excuses, hours away, always on her phone, hushed tones. If I walked by, she'd end calls abruptly. It was too obvious. I asked if she was seeing Helen. She'd dismiss it, like I was imagining things. Dad noticed it too. Something wasn't right. Then, about a week ago, I was working from home. My laptop was acting up, so I asked Mom if I could borrow hers. She handed it over without hesitation. After my meeting, I was still working on it when a notification popped up. It was from Helen's number. My curiosity got the better of me. I clicked. What I found confirmed everything. Helen was asking Mom to meet at their usual spot. I scrolled through their messages. Full conversations about the pregnancy, about me, about how Mom could fix things. My stomach churned. Helen was manipulating Mom, using her love for Helen and for an unborn grandchild to get back into my life. And Mom, blinded by her attachment, was buying it. She was excited to be a grandmother, talking about holding her baby. I sat there, anger, disappointment, and sadness swirling inside me. And then it got worse. I scrolled further up. Weeks before I discovered Helen's affair, my mother had found out. A friend of hers who knew us well had sent Mom a photo. Helen, clearly intimate with a man. The same man. Mom, instead of telling me, had forwarded the picture to Helen, asking what she was doing. Helen, the manipulative narcissist, downplayed it. Just a coworker, nothing between us. But Mom doubled down, saying she didn't believe her, urging her to confess. And Helen did. She admitted to the affair, claimed she felt lonely. Then she promised Mom she'd break it off, begged her not to tell me, said it would ruin our marriage. My naive mother, who loved Helen like her own daughter, believed her. She agreed to keep it a secret, assuming Helen would end it. But Helen never did. She continued the affair right up until I caught her. The day I'd gone to my parents' house, distraught after finding out, my mother already knew the full extent of Helen's betrayal. Yet, she had still defended Helen, not me. I was speechless. My wife's betrayal had blindsided me, and now I was discovering my own mother had been complicit in this deceit. It was a double betrayal, and I could hardly process it. For days, I quietly watched Mom. She kept meeting Helen, still pushing me to reconsider the divorce. She had no idea I knew. AITA, if I confront my mother and call her out for stabbing me in the back after everything she's done? Update 1 asterisk. First, for everyone asking about the other man's pregnant wife. Yes, I told her. I was so consumed by my own grief. I didn't know how, but after reading your comments, I reached out on social media. Second, if this baby turns out to be his, there's no way he can hide his affair now. Helen is self-serving. She'll take him to court for child support, as she should. Lastly, yes, Helen and I were intimate right up until I moved out. There's definitely a chance the baby could be mine, which is why I haven't dismissed it entirely. But a paternity test is non-negotiable. Update 2 asterisk. I decided to call Helen and her family over for lunch, with my parents present. Mom seemed pleasantly surprised, thinking I was rethinking the divorce. She had no clue. Helen's parents seemed genuinely remorseful, apologizing on Helen's behalf and blaming her completely. Their support reassured me. I asked everyone to sit down. I told them I'd gathered them to reveal the entire truth about Helen's affair. Mom's eyes widened. Dad asked, "What are you talking about?" Taking a deep breath, I pulled out printed screenshots of the conversations between Helen and my mom over the past months. I laid the evidence before my father and Helen's parents. I showed them everything. How my mother had known about Helen's affair for weeks, how she had knowingly helped Helen hide it from me. Dad read through the messages, disbelief etched on his face. "Is this true?" he asked Mom. But instead of answering, her face flushed with anger. "You have no right to read my private messages," she accused me, her voice rising. "I wasn't sure. I just didn't want to break your marriage. I truly believed Helen would leave that man. I thought she'd come to her senses." Her tone was defensive, but I could hear the cracks. She went on, justifying, saying Helen couldn't have knowingly done this, that she was lost, distracted. Helen, across the table, jumped in, supporting Mom, saying she was working up the courage to break up with him. I scoffed. "You were both complicit in this. Mom, you had every opportunity to tell me the truth. Instead, you chose to protect her. Do you both even realize how much this hurts? Do you understand what you've done?" Silence. Then, unexpectedly, Helen's mother spoke up. She turned to my mother, her tone firm but compassionate. She pointed out that Mom had been wrong to hide Helen's affair, suggesting that if she'd been honest from the start, I might have been spared this shame and trauma. Dad nodded in agreement, disappointment written all over his face. "You're as much at fault as Helen for supporting her through this," he said to Mom. "By trying to protect her, you only helped to break your son's trust. You should have known better." The weight of their words bore down on Mom. Her defenses crumbled. I turned to her, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. "Mom, as much as it pains me to know that Helen betrayed me, it hurts even more to see you continue to support my cheating partner. I never expected this from you." Our words finally struck a nerve. My mother's composure shattered. She burst into tears, the weight of her actions finally hitting her. She expressed her remorse, stating she had always wanted Helen and me to have a family, and it was hard for her to let that go. She truly believed we could fix things. But now, seeing my anguish, she promised to stop pushing. She kept saying, "I just wanted you to be happy." Since that incident, my mother has blocked Helen and promised to stay out of my divorce. Helen's parents and my dad agree with me and will push Helen to get a paternity test when the time comes. Update 3*. It's been almost 9 months. For everyone asking in my DMs, Helen gave birth, and we had the paternity test done. Turns out, I am not the father of the baby. Hell yes. I've since divorced Helen, and am now living peacefully in my own apartment. I'm truly happy with how my life has turned out, especially since I won't have to pay any child support. My mom and I have improved our relationship over time, and she continues to be no contact with Helen, just like she promised. This whole journey has been a roller coaster, from absolute heartbreak to a surprising sense of peace and vindication. It took a while, but standing up for myself and refusing to let others dictate my life was the best decision I ever made. What do you all think? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and what was right for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below.